Hey there, welcome to Feel It Friday. I'm going to teach you guys something that I talk about a lot in Beyond the Rank, but we have so many new people here that I thought that this would be great to share and also a good refresh. So, also some announcements. We just finished Train Your Brain. And if you have someone that missed out on it, what we are doing is we are going to take those recordings and we're going to allow people to buy them. So you might see my Facebook ads for it. You might see emails from me going out about it. But if you know of anyone that feels like they missed out and they want to do Train Your Brain, or they want to do like a little sample or a test before joining Beyond the Rank, this is the perfect way for them to purchase it. They can just go to my website, emilygibsoncoaching.com/shop, and they can purchase the 5-day challenge recordings there. From the day they purchase it, they have 14 days to listen to the 5 days. And then after that, the recordings go away. This is because I want people to watch it. I want them to take action. I don't want them to just buy it and have it sit in their inbox for years and never do anything with it. So that's why I do that. And then when they join Beyond the Rank, within 7 days of purchasing it, then they will get their $19 refunded for it. And we're just going to do this for a while and see if it helps people, right? So if you have someone that's like, oh, I'm kind of on the fence, I don't know if I want to join that thing you're doing, you can direct them to the 5-day challenge. They can purchase it for $19. It's just going to be on my website, and they will just immediately get an email with all 5 days of the challenge. And then when they purchase it, they'll have 14 days to view the videos before they become like not linked or whatever. And then if they decide to join from that, then they will be able to get their $19 refunded and put it toward their first month in Beyond the Rank. So excited that we're going to have this new way to sort of test out Beyond the Rank, and it'll just be available at any time during the month that they want to do that. So, okay. Now back to this here. Okay. Life is 50-50. Right? If you don't know this yet, if you haven't heard me say this before, this is something that I really believe is true, right? I want you to think about it. Like, for example, on my wedding day, I would describe to people that I had the most perfect wedding day. Everything went right. It was just the best day ever. However, if I separate, the facts from the stories, I'm going to have a lot of different facts, right? And then when I start looking at some of the things, I'm going to be like, actually, I really didn't like the taste of the meat. It was overcooked, right? But I just overlooked it because nothing could ruin my day. I was just so happy, right? Another thing, like there was like a little bit of discrepancy between my family and my husband's family. Like his family didn't want any alcohol served at the wedding. My family did. And so like my parents agreed to not serve alcohol at the wedding to appease my husband's family and me, because I didn't want it served at the wedding either. And then they ended up having a room, like a hotel room upstairs, where they bought alcohol for all the rest of the family that wanted to like have a cocktail. And it wasn't like everybody was getting like sloshed or whatever. It's just that like they wanted it there for people that wanted it. And so at some point during the day, my maid of honor came to me and she's like, I have something horrible to tell you, and I'm so sorry. And I was like, what is it? Like, what could it be? And she said, there's an alcohol room. She's so precious. And I was like, okay. Like I was just like, can't control humans. Like, even though I didn't know coaching back then or anything like that, like I literally was like, okay. And I didn't let it affect my day. Right. But like the day was not 100% perfect. Right. But in my mind, I would describe it as being 100% perfect. So we don't even need to put any of that into the model. Right. Because It doesn't matter that it wasn't a perfect day. And the way I tell the story of my wedding is I'm like, oh my gosh, it was the most beautiful spring day, like April 24th, 2004. The tulips were all over Temple Square. We took pictures for 3 hours. I had sunscreen on, so I didn't get a sunscreen, but like my poor maid of honor didn't want to put sunscreen on. She got burned so badly, but it was just the most beautiful day. And the entire time I just remember like kissing Sean, and just everything was so beautiful. And my dress was perfect. And everybody that I wanted to be at my wedding was there. And we had so much fun dancing, and it was just such a fun day, right? Like that's how I tell the story of my wedding. I don't even tell the other pieces of it. In fact, I didn't even remember any of those things until I started getting into coaching, and I was looking for examples from my life that were 50-50, because I was trying to show people like, your life is 50-50. It's always 50-50, right? And so anyway, your life is 50-50. Even on the most perfect days, I promise you, there's 50% negative emotion going on, and there's 50% positive going on. And it doesn't mean we have to focus on the positive. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm just saying like there's 50% negative and there's 50% positive, and your brain is always going to perceive the negative as bad and like something's gone wrong, but it's not. There's positive and there's negative. Our brain wants to read that as bad and good, but it's not. It's not bad or good. It's totally just like neutral, right? And so a lot of times what we do, like what would be examples of positive emotion? That would be things like, confidence, like confident or empowered or happy or peace, relief, right? Like these are all examples of positive emotions. And then we have negative emotions, right? Like sad, anger, frustrated. What else would we say? Why can't I think of the negative emotions all of a sudden? Discouraged. What else? There's so many of them, you guys. I don't even know what's happening to my brain right now. Oh, anxiety. There we go. Anxious, nervous. Okay, now they're flowing. Now we're fine. Okay, anyway, so we have the positive emotions and then we have the negative emotions. And whether we like it or not, our day is filled with equal parts positive and negative emotions. And because the brain is programmed, hardwired to avoid negative emotion because it thinks it's going to die. This is from our caveman days, right? Like we are programmed on a very like DNA level to avoid discomfort, seek pleasure, and conserve energy. It's what kept us from getting eaten by the lion outside the cave, right? But we don't live in caves anymore. Not most of us. Probably not if you're watching this call, this Zoom right now, right? Or listening to it on the podcast, right? But you are afraid of other things, right? So like fear would be a negative emotion that we feel sometimes. Like in your business, like you're afraid to rank up, you're afraid to push for the rank, you're afraid you might fall back next month. You don't want to lose your rank, so better not try this month. No, you are just afraid of experiencing negative emotion. You're afraid of disappointed, right? See, I knew there's so many negative emotions, right? And so what we do is when we're feeling fear, sad, anger, frustrated, discouraged, anxious, nervous, disappointed, all these things, we do our brain, those feelings, they fuel us to do different things, right? And sometimes we buffer when we feel negative emotions. Buffering is a word that we use in the land of coaches, meaning that we do something in order to avoid negative emotion. So what would buffering be, right? Buffering would be like watching Netflix because I feel nervous about a post I just did, right? So I'll go and I'll watch Netflix to distract myself. Or a lot of people that are anxious at the end of the day, they'll like drink a glass of wine, right? They're like, I got to have a glass of wine to wind down. For me, I used to treat my anxiety with chocolate peanut butter Tillamook ice cream, right? So I would just get the whole half gallon and take it to the couch and I would watch my DVR, which some of you listening to this don't know what that is, but it was what we used before Netflix, where we would like record our shows that we wanted to watch and then watch them there, right? So I would like get my ice cream and I would just eat and eat and eat for 45 minutes so that my brain could calm down. I was buffering, right? And so there's lots of different buffers. A lot of people use food for buffering. Like they're like, I need a cookie, I need a cracker. I remember Oprah Winfrey talking about this on her show, like 25, 30 years ago. She was like, trying to get healthy. And so she wasn't letting herself eat a bag of chips anymore. So she ate a bag of lettuce. She's buffering, right? With lettuce, but she's buffering, right? And we buffer to not feel. So I like to show buffering as like this like amoeba that comes off the side of the 50-50 cell, right? Like think we're in biology, it feels like we're in biology class, right? So this is buffering. And I like to call this outer darkness or past, beyond feeling. Okay. It's where you numb out, where you don't want to feel. Okay. So when you watch Netflix to avoid feeling sad, when you have a glass of wine so you don't feel anxious, when you eat ice cream because you're frustrated, you're buffering. How do we know if we're buffering and not just bored, right? Well, bored would be a negative emotion as well, right? Sometimes we're not even hungry. Sometimes we're not even bored, but when we're bored, sometimes we'll eat food or do something. So how do we know if we're buffering? It's when you have a net negative in your result later on. So for example, let's say you're feeling anxious. So you drink a glass of wine and it's going to give you a headache in the morning, but you drink it anyway because you just can't handle feeling anxious right now. And you know that if you drink a glass of wine, you're going to get an instant hit of dopamine. You are like, that's exactly what's happening. You have the sugar, then you have the chemical reaction in your brain because you're thinking a thought like, oh, finally I can relax. And then the wine itself, or even the ice cream, like I don't drink alcohol, but I eat ice cream. Same thing. The sugar in the ice cream is giving me that dopamine hit instantly. It's just like a drug, right? Instant dopamine hit. And then I can relax. However, there are other ways to relax because where do our feelings come from? The feeling of relaxed is a positive emotion, right? Where do our feelings come from? Our thoughts. I can feel relaxed without the wine, without the ice cream, without the Netflix. This is just an easy hit. And when you buffer, for example, like, gosh, like I'm so, discouraged with my kids. When my kids were little, I used to stay up and watch Netflix till like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I just have to relax and calm down. And I had so much anxiety. It will calm me down. Right. And then I would watch Netflix like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning. And in the morning, I would always regret it every single time because I was miserable because I didn't get enough sleep because the kids were up at 7 and my husband went off to work at 6. And so I was like, why do I do this every single day? It's like the person who's trying to lose weight and then they binge on ice cream because they're feeling really sad that they're not meeting their weight loss goal. So they're like, I better go have a bowl of ice cream so I can feel better. And they feel better right in the moment. And then the next morning they like beat themselves up and tell themselves how horrible they are. And they have all this self-loathing. We know we buffered with the ice cream or the wine or the Netflix because there's a net negative in the result the next day, right? Something we don't want, something we didn't like, right? And our brain thinks that by buffering, by coming out here into this outer darkness, this beyond feeling place where we numb out, it thinks it's getting relief, relaxation, and peace, but it's not. Look, it's getting further away from the positive emotions. Further away, you guys, further away. The only way to get to the positive part of your day, the 50% positive, the only way for the negative emotions to go away is to process them. We have to process them. We have to sit with it and feel like, what does anxious feel like? to a woman, to a mother, to a human being. What does anxious feel like? Well, it's like a really fast, like rush in my chest. It feels kind of hot sometimes. I feel like a shortness of breath with it, right? Like, and your brain's like, we're going to die if we feel this any longer. We're not. We are totally made to process our emotions. So rather than eat the ice cream to get rid of the anxiety instantly, we can say, I'm just going to sit here and notice my anxiety. What does it feel like? What does it sound like? Is there like, what color is it? For me, anxiety is usually red, right? And I'm like, oh, it's like red. I can feel the red like anxiety around me, right? And it's like super fast in my chest. It's like right here in my body. Sometimes it's like in my solar plexus, like down here, like right here below my chest. And I notice it. And as I'm noticing it, I eventually begin to notice it goes away because you process the emotion. You allow it to run throughout your body. This is what I like to call, and what we call it in like the land of life coaches, the river of misery, right? And it's the river of misery is experiencing these negative emotions to get back to the other side. And what humans usually do is they want to buffer. They want to go and they want to unload the dishwasher so they can feel accomplished right now, because that's easier than being frustrated about your business not growing and the person not enrolling and someone canceling and not hitting your rank. It's way easier to just go get a hit of accomplishment by unloading the dishwasher, doing a little laundry, making the beds, organizing the pantry. You think you're feeling positive emotion. You're not. You're buffering. It's why later on you're like, oh, I don't know why I'm not doing the right things. Like, I want to get to the top of my company. I want to do these things. Why am I not getting it? Because we have to learn to sit with the negative emotion. This is so key. This is the work worth doing. And you're going to hear me talk a lot more about this, but I just want to share this with you today. I hope you have the best weekend ever. Bye, guys.